So as you can see on the screen, we want to talk to you today about resiliency in times of uncertainty. And I thought Ross did a great job talking about all the many things that represent uncertainty. I often say that it seems as though we should become very comfortable being uncomfortable because times are ever evolving and ever changing. So why don't we get started here? And I want to share with you kind of what I hope to accomplish in our time together today. My learning objectives are real simple. I just want to cover 4 key points, and hopefully these will resonate with you. But I want us to really define and think about this resiliency we're talking about and why this is so important and how do we embrace this? And there's the key word, folks. How do we embrace this in this time of uncertainty? We all like to live in our comfort zone. I'm a creature of comfort at age 62. I've got some things I love to do and some things I love to perform and kind of live out my life. But sometimes it's when I push outside of my comfort zone where I get the greatest joy, the greatest sense of satisfaction, where I become the best version of myself. It's not always staying inside my comfort zone. So while it's an uncertainty and unchanging, we can certainly grow and learn. The next thing I hope to accomplish today is this emotional roller coaster. Allow me to share this continuum with you, that we can talk about from fear to excitement. All along the process, what does that look like? And boy, our emotions will be all over the place, and we'll sometimes find ourselves in a place where, what's next? What's going to happen? But it's our emotions that we must learn to manage, and we'll talk about that. Next, I hope that we will identify some of these characteristics of enabling, right? Enabling and helping people to understand what it is to be resilient. So I know I'm talking to the leaders today, so I hope to impart some things with you that you'll share with your team that will make a tremendous difference in the things you do every day. And finally, I hope we can really develop some resiliency within you. And we can talk about how you support and how you develop others, because the greatest among us is those that serve. And we know that's what we do. But sometimes serving leaves us to a place where we feel dismantled. We feel frustrated. We may be at our wits' end. So let's take care of you first. And we'll talk about some of those things. So let's dive right into it. And Webster makes it real simple. And I love this. It just starts out by saying resilience, right? The ability, and here's the key word, don't miss this, to recover. To recover. How long will it take you to recover? What will recovery look like? How will we know when we recover? What is the best form of recovering? But we must recover from some type of adjustment that has to be made due to some unfortunate, due to some change, due to something that has come into our life. Those that are resilient will always make it through. Booker T. Washington said something, one of my favorite quotes, one of my favorite I like to share in these types of trainings is that success should not be measured by the things man has achieved in life, but based upon the obstacles that he has had to overcome. Show me an overcomer, and I'll show you a becomer. So today, as I talk to this leadership team, I know you're overcomers, and I know you represent the best of resiliency. So let's dive into it. So what is actually resilience? What is it? It's the ability, once again, to recover, to adjust. Now, I like the word adjust. Not necessarily meaning we have to scrap something, we have to start all over, just some simple course adjustments. In the course of 168 hours that we have in our daily week, we make adjustments all the time. And it's those adjustments that lead us to the ultimate goal. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a pilot, and he was sharing with me when he flies transcontinental that almost 70% of the time he's off course, but he's making adjustments the whole time to getting to his final destination. So sometimes wind and turbulence and things will come and it will get him off course, but he has steadfast approach of making some adjustments. And that's what we must be, as people that make these minor, simple adjustments. Resilience also is the capacity, right? The capability to take something that maybe this strained body to recover from its size and shape. Maybe you've been bent, you've been stretched. Just maybe it's time for us to bounce back after facing this adversity, facing this stretch, facing this sense of stress, I should say. So this picture graph really speaks volumes of what I'll call the modern definition of resilience, right? Think about this 3 words that you see on the screen. Advancing despite adversity. There always has to be advancement. There always has to be progress. There always has to be the next foot forward. We have to advance. We're called on to advance. It's our job to advance. Sometimes we have to advance alone when others don't even believe in the cause. Sometimes we have to be the beacon of light that moves in a sense of resilience where we look around and say, am I here by myself? Am I the only person that gets this? But here's what we know. We know that adversity is sure to come. It's how we handle adversity. It's how we view adversity. But more importantly, if you have something to write with, write this down. It's our perception of adversity. I have found that adversity makes me stronger. Adversity teaches me some new things. Adversity stretches me, as I talked about, outside of my comfort zone. So today, think about those three words: advancing despite adversity. So when I think about resilient people, this is what I often think about, right? I think about, if I had to define what does a person of resilience look like? They don't let doubts and anxiety overwhelm them. Don't miss this. They understand the process. And they're astute to know if I follow the process, I'll get to my end goal. There could be some obstacles, there could be some curves, there could be some turns, there could be some disruptions. When I think about what the pandemic did to us, how here today, I'm talking to you all around the country, I have no idea where you're at. But this is what we've learned. This is how we've adopted. This is how we pivoted. This is how we've grown. Yes, it was anxiety the first 60 days. I remember just looking like, what am I going to do? But then after sitting down and putting some rational thought to it and saying, the work must go on. You must impact people's lives. How will you do it now that you can't get in front of them? And just like you found a way to overcome. We don't get overwhelmed. Yes, it may set us back momentarily, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just depends, will you get up and will you face again those things that you know you need to do? I also believe that when I think about resilient people, they kind of got a sense of humor. Like we can take it in stride. I call it the water on the duck's back. Like the duck just knows I'm in water all day long. But I don't view water as an obstacle. I view it as the process. I'm realistic. I know what I can do. I don't overcommit, but I overdeliver. Because here's what people are looking for. People are looking for the best in you in the worst of times. Please write that down. The best of you in the worst of times. Don't feel shame or depressed. These people don't have this sense of like, I feel beaten down. I feel downtrodden. I'm depressed over what's going on. No, resilient people look at it as, this is an opportunity to grow. This is an opportunity to move forward. I bet right now some of you are sitting at your desk. Maybe you're in a place of an office. Maybe you're in a comfort. Maybe you're somewhere just thinking about all the many things that you have to do, and you're feeling this sense of, I can't do it. Well, here, listen to me. Yes, you can. We believe in you. We know you can. That's why we have trainings like this, to equip you, to get you ready for the next plateau. You're not in this by yourself. We're here to support you. But what we need you to do, don't miss this, believe in yourself. Self-belief is incredible. People that are resilient have this self-belief that says, I know I can. I know I will. I must. Hey, Corey, I'm reading this great book. And the book is titled Good to Great to Unstoppable. And I got to tell you, the whole book is about just, can we push a little bit more? Can we just push a little bit more? You know, sometimes I feel like I'm giving all I can. And I ask myself, is there anything else left in the tank? Is there could you make one more call? Could you reach out to one more person? Could you impact one more person's life? Could you bring a smile to one more person's face? Could you hear another problem? And I find I can. And so here today, let's move to this unstoppable state, because that's what resilient people are. Finally, we help transform the helpless into power. We bring about a sense of, don't miss this, hope. People strive for hope in today. Every time something catastrophic happens, we look for hope. You are our hope. You're our front line. We need you. Here's what we'd ask you to do. You ready? Just simply believe in yourself. My mentor would often say this to me. Eric, he would say, Milton, I want you to borrow the belief that I had in you, about you, until you can gain the same belief in yourself. Maybe you have to borrow someone else's belief, because resilient people have a believability that's off the charts. We never see it as though we can. We see it as though we must. And finally, here's what I really know about resilient people. They move through a continuum from being a victim to a survivor to a thriver. And this is what we know. We know no matter where you're at today, it's okay if you're listening right now and you feel powerless. It's okay. It's okay. Because I hope after our time together, you would have gleaned something from this. You would have taken something away that would allow you to say, I can put one more foot in front of the other. I can go one more hour. I can go one more day. I can see one more case. I can see one more veteran. Whatever that looks like. Because we're all in different places together. So I heard one of my favorite mentors say, we all came to this country in different boats, but we're all in the same ship. And so I want you to think about our work across the country that we do. It's not easy. I know it's not, but it's meaningful. But more importantly, it's necessary. So let's move beyond that victim to the survivor to I'm a thriver. I bet there's some champions listening to me right now that are thrivers. Maybe reach out to some of your other friends to help them with that believability. We all need each other in this thing. We can't do it alone. And so that's why we have sessions like we have today to bring us together, to empower us, to enrich us. We also know this, that resilient people view problems and challenges as opportunities. I was reading once again about Thomas Edison and the light bulb, and you know the story, how many times he tried and he failed, and somebody simply asked him, you failed 500 times. He said, no, I just learned 500 ways that it won't work. I'm after excellence. I'm after the solution. The process doesn't bother me. I'm after light. And think about that. That's who you are. You will face challenges. Some will be from some people that should be on the team supporting you. Some will come from some external forces that you can't control. Like budget, like leadership, like a whole host of things. But here's what we're about. We're about the mission of getting the job done. So when we see problems, we see the solution. We're solutions-oriented people. That's why we're resilient. That's why Mike is resilient. That's why Corey, that's why the team of people putting this on, we're resilient. We will not be denied. And last of all, we learn from our mistakes. The first thing I want to tell you is failure is not a person. Failure is an opportunity to grow. If I had not failed, where would I be in my life? At 62, the learning curve of life has brought me to this platform. Here's where I stand today. A man that has failed many times, but I've gotten back up every time. Because it was imperative that I not lay there, because somebody was counting on me. Thank goodness for my failures. Despite all hardships, we succeed, we overcome. As a full-blooded Native American, I can tell you my story of overcoming, but that's not important today. What's important is that we're all here together at this moment in time, supporting each other, encouraging each other, uplifting each other. Because we can get through this. But we have to do it together. And finally, here's what resilient people are really, really good at. Seeking out new challenges, new opportunities, and new experiences. You better not ever, ever tell a resilient person, well, that's the way we always did it. Man, they don't want to hear that. They want to hear better. They want to hear, how can we grow? And I know there's some people that get settled in, and I often call them the people that walk around and go, I got 2 years, 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 months, and 2 minutes, and I'm out of here. And they're counting down the days. Not resilient people, because what we recognize is until that day, we're going to always seek new challenges, new opportunities, new experiences to grow and to become better. And this pictogram is kind of a continuum thinking about what resilience is of these 7 different components. Now, here's what I want to share with you. You may not be strong in every one of those areas. You may be needing a little bit more motivation. You may need a little bit more confidence, a little bit more strength, but you're very agile and you're a change agent and you put forth max effort. But this is the continuum. This is the composite of the resilient man, the resilient woman, the resilient leader, the resilient person. The one that I gravitate to on there, and this is the one I often say all the time, Mike, is effort. I can control my effort. I'm giving 110% all the time. Why? Because my name is on this. My thumbprint is on this. I never know if this will be the last time I ever speak in my life, so I have to leave people better than I found them. I can control my effort. And for me, it's real simple. I've learned to be agile because I don't take things for granted. I've learned that my strength comes from my internal belief. Where does yours come from? And so think about those 7 components. Maybe you're strong in one, but you need to work in the other. And when we send this presentation to you, you may just want to take this slide and post it somewhere where you can see it and ask yourself the question every day. Which one of these do I need to work on? Which one do I okay? Because all we are is a work in progress. Nobody's arrived. Nobody's reached the pinnacle. Nobody's perfect. We're all striving to be better. So I want to talk to you about mindset. So when Dr. Bruce came into my life at age 18 years old, I was living in Southeast Baltimore, and I was an at-risk youth. Matter of fact, I was in so much trouble that it was getting to the point where they were intervening, telling me I was going to have to go to a kind of a special school just for boys, if you will. I was in a lot of trouble growing up. But when my mentor came in my life, this is the first thing he said to me that changed my life, and I want to share it with you. He said, Milton, you must change the way that you think. And I often thought, well, that's pretty easy for you to say, Dr. Bruce. You're a PhD in psychology. You were appointed by Secretary Shalala under the Clinton administration. You're the national head person for the at-risk youth program around the United States. You were voted as the top 100 black men in black mental health, I should say. And you got prestigious awards, and you went to Ivy League schools, and you graduated with these. It seemed pretty easy for you to say. And he said, no, it's a decision that you have to change your mindset. So he asked me this question. Ross, this is what he said to me. He said, when life gives you lemons, what should you do? And you know, you come on, you guys know. I said, make lemonade. And by the way, I asked that question last week in Puerto Rico. When life gives you lemons, what should you make? A lady raised her hand and said, lemon-teenies. I thought that was kind of interesting. But listen, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. He looked at me and he said, absolutely not. I need you to change the way you think. Because when life gives you lemons, I need you to pick the seeds out of them. And I need you to plant the seed and grow an orchard of lemons so you can take care of yourself and other people for the rest of their lives because you're a leader. And I got to tell you, that went right over my head at age 18. But he challenged my way of thinking. He challenged me to not think in the status quo. He challenged me to see the possibilities instead of the limitation. Resilience is less about how we think. It's really about who we are. I know this. Somebody listening to me today has gotten into a form of thinking that may not be conducive for the long-term result. You know, it's easy to put it on autopilot. I've been doing this for so long. I know what to do. We do this form. This is the way we do intake. This is how we do it. And sometimes the empathy comes off of it. Sometimes the compassion is not there. But I want you to get a resilient mindset. Look at that second point. It says our mindset or mental models directly influence and shape how we view the world, how we see the world. Well, let me tell you about my dad now. So my dad was one of the original members of the tribe out of North Carolina, and he saw the tribal struggle, and he saw the Ku Klux Klan come in 1959 to take our land, and he saw the fight, and he saw the government moving us, and he saw all kinds of things. And yet, he imparted his mindset and his belief system on me. And here's what he told me. Mike, you're going to love this one. He said, son, and when he said son, I obviously had to say, yes, sir. Say, yes, sir. He said, we don't trust nobody from the government. Do you understand me? And I stepped back at age 13. I was kind of perplexed. Why might he say that? And we don't talk to strangers because they could be from the government. And I thought, wow, this is an interesting, strong belief system, because he ruled with an iron fist, and he had a saying that when it's my way or the highway, and he just was that guy. How about this? He'd turn over in his grave today if he knew I made my whole living, first of all, talking to strangers, people that I can't even see today. But more importantly, last I checked, this was the Veterans Administration I was talking to. So you see, sometimes it's the unlearning that we never get to that keeps us from being resilient, because we stay trapped in a body that we were never intended to be in, and a mindset that is less than what the job requires. It's how we view ourselves. It's the influences, the people around us. It's a mindset. It's a way of thinking. You must guard your sensescapes. You must guard your mindset. The naysayers are coming. The people that ask you, why are you doing this? But you have to have a deep, burning passion inside of you that says, I know why I'm doing this. The strength of a resilient mindset forces the behaviors, enables us that we actually influence and shape people. Now, the key word there is influence. The difference between influencing people and convincing people is real simple. If you convince people, you must do that every day. If you influence people, they take ownership of it, and they have a vested interest in it, and they want to see it happen, and they change because it's best for them. And that's the resilient mindset that we have to impart on people. Folks, I am not standing here today telling you that's not difficult by nature of the work you do. But I'm here to tell you, you are valued in what you do. We need you. But we need you to need you, and change the way we think. Change the mindset. If you take a look at this model here, I want to start with the circle that talks about the physical well-being. Now, the first thing I believe to be resilient is you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of yourself. So I went to the doctor just a few days ago to get my annual physical. And I got to tell you, he says the same thing every year. And it kind of starts like this: get on the scale. And I kind of go back and forth. Hey, doc, I don't need to get on the scale. Just write this number down. We'll be fine. And then he reminds me of what stress will do to me. He reminds me of the historical background that I have. And he reminds me I have to take care of myself, because he says to me often, we need you. I kind of look at him and think, that's kind of interesting that the doctor says we need you. But you know what? The real truth of the matter is we need each other. The next part of that circle I want you to think about is coping. Folks, we have to get coping skills. We have to have ways to release some things. We have to have ways to identify targets, triggers, things that come into our life that keep us from being resilient. And yes, we need social support. And that's what this is today. I was watching Ross as he put the screen up about the landing pages where you can go and learn different things and where resources have been provided. So that's not necessarily a social support, that's an entity support. But you must have support outside of that. I pray at home some people are encouraging you and telling you how important your work is. I pray that your family, your friends, they see what you do as a value. If not, you should really question that relationship. Because if this is your purpose and this is your passion, how dare they bring you down? My mentor would often say, Milton, the two most important days of your life is the day you're born and the day that you know why you were born. And some of you have figured that out. That's why you live this life of purpose, this life that's fulfilled, this life that calls on everything inside of you, and you answer the bell every day. I'm excited for you. Look at the next circle. It talks about our emotions. Folks, this is the one thing we must master in our life, is our emotions. You know, I got to tell you, as an only child and as a know-it-all and as a person that if you don't think I don't know, if you just ask me, I'll tell you because I'm a know-it-all. My emotions are out of balance sometimes. I can be too high and I can be too low, and I find it hard to be even keeled. But I have to learn that my emotions, don't miss this, doesn't have to be a jailer. My emotions can be a motivator. The deepness inside of me and the burning desire to want to leave the world better than I found it can be a motivator, not a jailer. Because we all want, in the last circle, the meaningful life. On the last day, when they put you in the ground, what will they say? He was a nice guy. She was nice. Well, I hope we get that. But there's so much more to life. Think about what you do every day, how you're impacting people that don't even know it. That is the quality of life. That's the essence of leaving people better than you found them. So I think about this as a model for resiliency. You got to get those coping skills though, folks. You got to have a way to identify when I'm sliding the wrong way. And you got to take care of what I call you. Stephen Covey wrote a great book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In that book, he talked about habit number 3, keep the saw sharp. That's you. You are the saw. And that's what you did today. You come by to sharpen your tools. And just our little bit of time together, my goal is that you have some takeaways that will leave you better than I found you. Well, let's talk a little bit about human nature. And then Corey, after this slide, we're going to come back to you and see if people put any of those characteristics in that we talked about. So when we think about human nature, right? People want to maintain control. That's the number one thing we thrive for, right? We want to be in control. But this is what I'm learning at 62. I'm most frustrated when I'm not in control. But why am I frustrated of something that I can't control? I have to ask myself that simple question. But it's human nature. Here in the greater Baltimore area, right outside Washington, D.C., we have something called traffic. And I got to tell you, on my rides into downtown Washington, D.C., it could take anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours. Just depends on what's going on that day. And when traffic comes, I used to get very upset. And I learned that it's out of my control. I don't get frustrated. Now it's the time to put Audible on and listen to one of my great books. It's a time for me to listen to something that builds me. It's a time for calming. It's a time for something other than being frustrated. Because people want to maintain control over their lives. That's just a natural human character trait. Look at the next one. People we want to develop this self-confidence and this psychological health by building stable and effective relationships. So let me tell you the 3 most important relationships that you have to be this person of resilience. Dr. Bruce said, Milton, there's 3 relationships you must have. And if you don't develop these, the path of life will be quite rocky for you. He said the first relationship you have to have is with yourself. He said you have to like you. When you look in the mirror every morning and brush your teeth, you should ask yourself this most important question. Do I really like me? Because if you don't, you're going to take you with you wherever you go, and we're already sick of you. Be in relationship with yourself. As a person that's recovered from a whole lot of addictions, I've come to the place in life where I'm finally comfortable in my own skin. I'm finally at peace with myself. I finally can look in the mirror and see that I'm more resilient today than I've ever been because I've overcome some things, just like you. The second relationship Dr. Bruce said is imperative you must have is you must be in relationship with your significant other, your spouse, your pet, your partner, whatever it is you have at home that you spend quality time with. Because watch this, you must be in congruency. I maybe met the people that come to work every day and all we hear about is what's happening away from work. I'm there to lend a ear, but after a while, I start to wonder, do you really want to take action? And the third relationship, folks, is the one I want to talk to you about today. It's a relationship that we should have with the people that we spend 65% of our life with at this place called work that we'll be doing for some 30, 40, 50 years. You got to be in a relationship. That's a mutual relationship, one to another, where I respect you, Ross. And I respect you because of who you are. And when we get to that place, we become more resilient together. I don't have to worry about things that aren't important. I focus on what needs to get done. The next point is our sense of control and comfort, right? Our well-being. We love to operate in the context of our comfort zone. That's where we operate the absolute best. Fourth thing, change disrupts our ability and it kind of puts us in this unpredictable state. It's natural. It's who we are. But look at number 5. The more change disrupts our future, the greater our confusion. Remember, we talked about that. Fear, anxiety, and self-doubt become. So why don't you just accept today that you're not going to always be in control? Why don't you just agree right now that no matter what, I'm going to remain resilient? The person that has the ability to overcome. The person that has the ability to look into the face of defeat, stare it down, and march right through it. And finally, number 6, it enables us to not only survive, but to thrive and meet the challenges of life, and meet the very challenges that we face. So I believe there's some dimensions we should think about. And I just listed 8 of them. While I teach on a lot of different topics, I love the word dimensions, which suggests there's different ways of looking at things. There's different characteristic traits. There's different lenses upon which to look. But the 8 dimensions of resilience that I want to touch on today is self-assurance. Now allow me to talk about self-awareness before I get to self-assurance. See, self-awareness is I am complete and utterly in control with knowing who I am. Now, I don't always act that way, but I know who I am. I'm self-aware. I know my idiosyncrasies. I know my personalities. I know when I have to bring Milton into control. So if I understand my self-awareness, then I become more self-assured because I know who I am. Some of you are so self-assured that we asked you to present. We asked you. You're our go-to when we need information. You're the reservoir. You're the knowledge. You're the knowledge base. And that's what builds our self-assurance. We build that within ourselves by going through the process. Don't shortcut the process. Don't discount the process. The process is necessary to get the best out of you. The next dimension that I think is important is our personal vision and our personal purpose. So let me share mine. So Dr. Bruce told me, and as our mentorship continued, And I was with Dr. Bruce some 40 years, and 4 years ago, I carried him to his final resting place. But in that 40-year relationship, this is what he told me when I was 22. I'll never forget. He said, I think you need to have a personal mission statement. Now, 22, Southeast Baltimore, kind of getting into a lot of problems. That probably wasn't real high on my list. But he sat down with me and he said, you must, because this is the blueprint as to who you are. So here it is. My personal mission statement is to leave the world a better place as a result of my being. The positive impact upon the thousands of people's lives that I will encounter while on this earth for such a short period of time. And on the last day, when they put me in the ground, have them say something other than he was a nice guy. To leave a legacy, a platform that my family, my loved ones can continue this work that Dr. Bruce instilled in me of leaving people better than I found them. You can wake me up in the middle of the night. You can put a .45 revolver in my head and I will repeat that for you. Because I believe that. That keeps me resilient. The pandemic came, floods, disasters, earthquakes, all kinds of things. No, I'm resilient. I'm resilient because I have to live that mission. Folks, please, before the sun goes down, work on your personal mission statement, your personal vision statement. Well, another dimension of a resilient person, I believe, is the flexibility. You're going to see later on in the presentation, I say, those that remain flexible shall not be bent out of shape. And I often believe it's the flexibility that it doesn't always have to go my way, Ross. Eric, it doesn't always have to be my way. I often teach leadership where I hear people say, well, we're going to agree to disagree. Well, that's not leadership talk. We might agree to disagree, but we're going to commit to what's best for this organization. We're going to commit to the mission. We're going to commit to something bigger than ourselves. And we're going to set our idiosyncrasies down. We're going to be flexible enough to come to the table and admit that what's best is the mission, not my personal agenda. The next thing is I understand the organization, and so do you. You must understand the touch points, how each department impacts the total organization, how what you do has an effect down the road. Because I must do my absolute best, because I can't have it end up on Mike's desk and Mike say, what in the world is this? We are resilient within the organization. You've heard it said, we're only as strong as the weakest link. And the good news is we don't have any here today. We have true champions. So know what the organization does. Know your role in the organization. One of my favorite football coaches, I won't tell you the team, but he simply says this, just do your job. Do your job. If you do your job, and the guy beside you does his, we'll be just fine. Don't do my job, and I won't do yours. And all too often, my eyes are on you instead of straight ahead. Know your role. Be resilient in that role. The next dimension, I think, is we'll have to be what I call problem solvers. You know, I love when my team meets and the first thing is somebody will start discussing the problem and they say, I know, Milt, what's the solution? Well, yeah, let's start at 30,000 feet and work down. Let's get out of the weeds. Let's think big picture. Let's talk possibilities. Let's stretch our minds. Let's go places we've never been. How will we translate in Mandarin? Let's talk about that. Think big. Think globally. Think about the people you serve. Be solutions oriented. You've heard all this before. But resilient people, that's at their DNA. That's who they are. Let me tell you about social competence. We have a sense of caring and compassion for our fellow man. We have a sense of caring and compassion. All too often, I see this mentality of, what can I get from you? I see this mentality of greed. I see this mentality of selfishness. There's no room for that in the leadership mantle. There's no room for that in the highest rungs of leadership. And so as you're building your leadership mantle, as you're thinking about what your model resilience is going to look like in your dimensions, please add in there that compassion, that empathy, that sense of caring. And be cognizant that that breeds an environment where people willingly apply their talents, their skills, and they can't wait to go to work for you. There has to be a connection. Sometimes we have to move outside and talk to another region and talk to other people and find out what's working with them. Building relationships. Your net worth will be dependent upon your network. And I'm not talking about monetary. I'm talking about emotions, knowledge, physical, your sense of feeling like I'm okay. That comes from the people around you that pour into your life. What does your inner circle look like? I bet it's made up of resilient people. If not, you may have to get rid of some of those folks. It's okay. It's easier to travel with people that want to go than it is with people hanging around your neck. I love resilient people. They see the possibilities. And we're very proactive. Man, we're always what I call pre-framing. We're always thinking about, if this does happen, how will we handle it? It hasn't even occurred yet. Because our mind knows that any point in time, we could be faced with a crisis. Any point in time, we could be moving off plan A, B, and C and working on X, Y, and Z. We know we're proactive in our thought. We don't take for granted what's going on. We don't get caught in the status quo. We don't operate with always me. Matter of fact, Mike, I love when I go into offices and train, and this is the first thing I hear. I will walk up to people and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And they will overtly say this, and it drives me crazy. How you doing? Hanging in there. Hanging in there? Hanging in there. Well, I hope you're holding on tight. Because, man, the road's about to get rocky. So resilient people aren't hanging in there. We're proactive. We're making things happen. So those are my dimensions. You know, my mentor would often say, "Milton, I need you to stop reading the press clippings of the past and create some new memories to live on." He said, however, there's some you should never let go. And I think that's what was just described. One that our fellow would never let go. So thank you. So now, if you're kind of thinking, well, how do we take some action? Because it'd be remiss to kind of have all this discussion and not ask you to do something. So if we're going to develop this resiliency in ourselves and in others, because, oh, by the way, I should submit to you right now that for those of you that manage people, there's 3 types of employees that you're going to encounter. Those that are engaged, those that are not engaged, and those that are actively disengaged. And they all come to work for a different reason. They all come to work for a different purpose. The engaged worker is bought into the mission. They bought into the reason why. Serving is at the forefront. And sometimes the not engaged worker is just passing through. Maybe the VA is not a bad place to park my car until I really figure out what I want to do. But I know I'm not talking to those people here. I'm talking about the people that you may be leading. So you got to understand what drives their resiliency. How do we motivate them? Then there's the actively disengaged. They're just wandering through life. And I often say, I can identify with that because I did that for the first 18 years of my life. I don't ever want to do it again. I can only imagine the pain that they must be feeling. And so being resilient means, how do we help other people? So listen to this. So what actions or new ways of thinking can you take or embrace to strengthen your own resilience? Maybe just think about that a minute. And if you want to add another line to it and say, and to my team too. Because if you're not resilient, you shouldn't expect them to be. What actions? What new ways of thinking can you take or embrace to strengthen your own resilience? Well, we talked about mindset, we talked about changing the way we think, and we talked about how we might do that. Maybe something's coming to your mind and you want to share it in the chat box right now. But when we send you this presentation, please go to this slide and complete it. Hey, you may want to just think about every 30 days, just revisiting this slide yourself. Look at this next point. How might you help others? That's when we're going to really find out about your leadership mantle, is when you build others. When you build others. They tell me leaders produce other leaders. I'm also aware that there's no such thing as a born leader. I'm very clear on that. Because if there was, you could put two leaders together and have a super leader. But that's not necessarily the case. I believe people are born with characteristics and traits that are conducive to leadership. But it has to be developed. It has to be tested. It has to be time tested. So, how might you help other people? If you got 10 people on your team and you got 10 resilient people, you got one humming organization. If you got 10 people on your team and it's just you and somebody else that's resilient, then you probably have a lot of frustration. So we should think about this. Our job is to build people. I'm talking to the leaders now. Build people. Leave them better than you found them. Let's take a look at this next slide. So now that we've gone through this, I want to talk to you about strengthening. Because now I'm coming from the premise that you have this resiliency inside of you. Now, how do I grow it? The first thing you do is by figuring out what's important to you. Defining your own personal vision. When people see you, they should know who you are. You should be consistent above all. I'm not going to talk about committed because I know you're already that. But you have to be consistent. Not just on Mondays. And not just on Fridays at 4. But we got to be consistent. People are watching us. People are counting on us. Who would I be to let them down? They put their faith in me. They put their trust in me. You know why? Because they don't have anywhere else to go. Can't let them down. When it becomes that important to you, you will strengthen your resilience to the point where it will not break. It may bend, but it won't break. The next point, we're going to strengthen your resilience. We got to reframe some mental models, some ways of thinking. We got to challenge our assumptions. We got to go into the sensescapes of our mind. We got to go into the recesses of our heart and examine why are we doing what we do. Every 90 days, I have a retreat with myself. And I question my belief system. And all it does is makes it stronger. And I ask myself, have you done all you can do? Why are you doing it? Who have you left better? If this was the last day, what had you done in the last 90 days? Now, it's just something I do. You do what works for you. But we must strengthen our resolve, our resilience. And we do that by spending time thinking about who we are and what we do and why we do it. Look at the last point. Identify what you can change. So here's what I know. The hardest thing for me to do is take that introspective look and see that side of me that needs to be worked on. You know, my friends, Ross, my friends say, Milt, you talk too much. And I will get real indignant and I'll just look at them and I'll say, but you don't understand. I get paid to talk. And then they will politely remind me, Milt, we're not paying you. And then I have to remember to be a friend and to have friends. I have to be a friend. I have to be more understanding and more listening. I have to remember when I'm with them, I'm not training, I'm interacting. And I have to go and examine, is this the best version of myself? And oftentimes I will look and say, you got some work to do. Dr. Bruce would not be proud of that behavior. I have to hold myself accountable. I want to influence people just like you do. So we got to focus on some things. And that's what can we do about our influence. That's how we strengthen our resilience. That's how we strengthen who we are. Look at this next slide. We have to adopt a can-do attitude. If there's nothing I love more is to be around people that say this. I don't know how we're going to do it, but I know we're going to do it. I love that. Yes, we have a blend of people that will sit back and ponder, and they will say, well, I'm just quite not sure. I need to do further observation. And we need those folks on the team. But at the end of the day, watch, I need you to commit to the mission. And say, I can do it. You can count on me. Put my name down. I'm going to get it done. I'll complete my task. That's resiliency. Over time and time and time and time, performing that habit builds a character in you that nobody can take from you. That's why you're resilient. Look at this next one. You have to take care of yourself. Every morning at 6 a.m., I have my quiet time. I don't want no distractions. I have to turn all the devices off and all the things that beep and bump and tweet and do all kinds of noise. I gotta build this, because this is going into the world today. Watch this. Dr. Bruce says, what goes in here comes out here. What goes in here affects here. But more importantly, what goes in here changes this right here. You need some time to build you. Take care of you. You're the goose that laid the golden egg. We need you. Lastly, can't be afraid to reach out when you need help. Don't let your pride stand in the way here. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Probably shouldn't share this, but I feel led to today. As a man that's faced mental health and suffered from some mental health issues, it was not my culture to go and ask for help. My father didn't teach me that way. But when the pressures of life got so great on me, I had to stop and say, this is really being resilient, getting help. And I encourage you to do that for yourself today. You take care of you. We need you. Look at this next one. Create and build a discipline that gives you structure. See, we're creatures that love to accomplish. If I asked you right now today, do you have a to-do list? Everybody would raise their hand, because you're built to accomplish. That's when you're at your happiest, when you're getting something done. So create a system that allows that, and have a follow-through and a follow-up that doesn't leave it in a black hole that we never know what happened, because that's not resilience. Be the best you can be there. Build you. Build a structure for success. So, I want to help other people, right? I want to help other people now. Okay, I got it. I know how I'm helping myself now. How do I help other people? The first thing you should do with everybody on your team is this, as often as possible. Is just simply look at them and say something Dr. Bruce would say to me every time he saw me. He said, I believe in you. Man, I got to tell you, there was times I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, but he would look in my eyes and he said, your eyes are the windows to the soul. He said, so I want you to know I believe in you. Jesus, don't tell me that again, please, because I don't even believe in myself. You want to build people? Try that. Take that home to some people you love too, because it works real well there. Tell them you believe in them. You build a resilience, you build a bond, it's unbreakable. Because once people form a trust with you, they'll go to the end of the world for you. But please remember, everybody that wants to be trusted is not trustworthy. I want resilience around me. I want people that want to go the extra mile. When I find that person, I know we can get the job done. Remind people what isn't going to change. You ready? Here's what's not going to change. We're not ever going to stop helping people. who have borne the battle. That's who we're not going to stop helping. I don't care what it looks like. That's the reason we're here. Sometimes people need to be told. They need to be reminded. They forget. But you as a leader, you're resilient. You set an example. Look for ways to increase social connections, building relationships, building people. Tell people you're proud of them. Tell people you believe in them. My mentor would say things to me that I knew I wasn't doing. And he would say this, Milton, I'm telling you, you're going to be amazing. As soon as you master this, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see the results. I believe in you. And I would go, oh my goodness. Because watch what he did. If you can see the Maslow hierarchy of needs, and if you can see that pyramid that kind of goes up to the top, and across the bottom it talks about our needs, our physical needs, our shelter. You know, after that's met, then it goes on to talk about the next needs of safety, love. Then it goes on to talk about a sense of belonging. But at the very top of that pinnacle, it's called self-awareness. And yes, that's when you know you've taken somebody to the ultimate pinnacle of resilience. Now they're self-aware, self-actualization, self-assurance. Increase communication when you know challenges are coming. Absentee leadership cannot be respected. It can't be trusted. When we're in times of crisis and time of need, I need to see your face. I need to hear your voice. I need to know you're there. We need you. Well, this one hurts to tell you, because I don't believe we have people here, but I just have to say it. Maybe it's time we shift from a posture of whining about all the things we want to a posture of solving problems, to a posture of caring, to a posture of compassion. Yeah, I have a pity party every once in a while. I like to go down to the basement, close the doors, and get by myself and do the, oh, why is me? And after I waste that 30 minutes, I'm getting better. It used to be a couple hours. I'm trying to get it down to about 5 minutes. But it's okay. But you can't stay there. Because remember early on, remember, recover. That's the resilient person that recovers from that. Listen to your body. Teach you this little tool my therapist has taught me. Sometimes you gotta listen to your heart. You gotta learn to talk to your heart and ask your heart, what do you need from me? Ask your heart, what do you need from me? Be willing to go to that place. I'm building resilience today, folks. I didn't come by to entertain you. I came by to build resilience. And I believe after we get done today, we will have resiliency. Look at the next one. I like to acknowledge my losses. But here's how I acknowledge them. By submitting to that loss, what I learned. What is that setback? Well, my son told me, he said, Dad, I think you took an L on that contract. You didn't get that one. And I said, yeah, I took an L, but I took away a lot of learning from it. And so sometimes we have to learn. Not every time is built for us to stand on top of the mountain and beat our chest. Sometimes we have to lick our wounds. But we learn. Because resiliency says, I'm getting up better than I went down. I'm getting up stronger. I've learned some things. Now I'm ready to march ahead. Not I'm going to lay there. Finally, engage your staff by sharing your vision. Don't be afraid. Share with them the vision. Share with them the vision. Share with them your vision. If you don't have one, borrow somebody else's that's got one. Call Ross or Eric up. Get theirs. But share your vision. People follow people that are going somewhere. Dr. Bruce said, Milton, here's a sure sign of leadership. I need you to take off running. Just start running. I said, yeah. He said, and stop. If nobody's not following you while you're running, you're just out for a jog. Here he goes again. Dr. Bruce. What's your vision? I can follow your vision if you tell me. Well, I encourage healthy work-life balance. Like, it's been real tough for me during the pandemic to separate from work and have this kind of delineation. Because, I'm here now and the laptop's always there. And, I always got this thing in my hand and I got an iPad, it's always right there. And so how do we balance this? Because we want to build, a healthy person, not an out of balance person. I'm not going to tell you how to do that. You have to go into your own life and examine, are you in balance, out of balance? Because I believe for a large portion of the time while you're chasing your vision and your dream, you will be out of balance. But it's important that you come into balance at the right time. Like my daughter's having a baby. I'll be away training. I'm trying to figure out how to get from there to get to where she's going to be. My first grandchild. I want to be in balance. Got to work it out. So we can give and take, right? Look at this next one. Sometimes how we educate people. And that's what we're doing here today. And we don't have to have these formal sessions like this. We can just grab people together and kind of huddle around the coffee pots. Hey, let's take 5 minutes. Talk about, hey, what's resiliency mean to you? What's resiliency mean to you? Hey, what's it mean to you? How do we do it better? Just kind of, get your team together. Have a communication talk. But more importantly, think about sometimes we have to take advantage of some employee assistance programs when we're starting to get burned out. Because you remember that circle that talked about coping? You remember that circle that talked about mental health? Here, let me get back there real quick so you can see it. This one here about mental health and coping. I don't want to burn you out. I don't want to lose you. I need you. I need you for the long term. If you need some help, go get some help. There's nothing wrong with that. I admire a man or a woman that says, I need some help. Get what you need to build you so we can build this organization. I like to explain the whys. I like to tell people why I'm doing what I do. Well, I've heard leaders say, well, they just should follow me. Well, I'm okay with that if that works for you, but let me tell you this. I'm in the business of compassionate leadership. I'm in the business of servant leadership. I'm in the business of building other leaders. People want to know why, because here's why. They're investing their life. This is their life they're putting into this. I want to know why. Celebrate the victories. Recognize people. Give people recognition. And in a world where we're downtrodden and downbeaten, and I go into my favorite restaurant and I eat my food and I say to the server, hey, can I see the manager? And you see their face get like, oh my God. You see the manager walking towards me with this look on his face like, oh God, what did? And I just go, hey, listen, I want to tell you, my server was outstanding. I don't know who trained him, but man, you got to keep doing what you're doing. With the attitude on that person and the way, fantastic service. I can't wait to tell everybody. And you watch the manager go, because what are they used to? Bad news. Be a good finder. Find people doing something good. Don't always beat them down. Life is beating them down enough. Their family's beating them down. Society's beating them down. Sometimes you got to build them up. They look to you for that. Keep the team together. Don't let it become fragmented. When you see someone needs you, be willing to give them what they need. You're the leader of the team. The speed of the group is going to be determined by the leader. And I'm willing sometimes to go to places where I normally wouldn't go and work beside people I normally wouldn't, just to show them this is how much I value you. Break down problems into bite-sized pieces. Folks, you're not going to solve this thing overnight. Sometimes we got to have a strategic plan, and it's going to take time. But let's do this, as I got 1 minute left before I go to questions, that change is inevitable. Change is inevitable, folks. But growth behind the change is optional. It's not that we don't like change, it's that we don't like being changed. We don't like being changed. Here where I live in the Northeast, the gas and electric bill came last month and it was astronomical. And I'm thinking I wasn't even home. I don't like that change. The car insurance bill came. You gotta be kidding me. It went up. I don't like that change. I like when change is imposed upon me. But I like when I can make the decision to change. Well, the good news is those changes that you can control are probably not going to frustrate you. But the changes that are out of your control may frustrate you. But we're going to find out if you're going to grow as a result of change. Resilient people choose growth. What do you choose? So I wind down with this. Everything today I talk to you about stems on this slide. What is your individual belief system? And folks, I am not here to change your belief system. I don't have the wherewithal. I don't have the desire. But what is your belief system about what I talked about today? Do you really believe you're resilient? Do you believe you work for a resilient organization? Do you believe you have a resilient team? Because your belief system will show up in just a few more minutes as soon as this is over. Some of you are going to walk away excited, encouraged, you're ready to implement. And others, you're going to say, oh, that was nice. He was so good today. That was fantastic. I don't know what your belief system is, but here's what I do know. Your action is going to tell me all I need to know. Because Dr. Bruce said, believe half of what they say and everything that you see them do. Because your actions will equal behavior. I want you to leave today better than you walked in. When you came in at 1 o'clock and you clicked that button to enter, I want you to leave better. I want your life to be better. I want your resilience to be better. I want your resolve to be better. I want your teams to be better. I want the VA to be better. And we can be that if we work together.